All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm doing a call. It's always calls. I keep trying to preface this show with like, "Hey, I'm on the internet," but everyone knows I'm on the internet. Everyone's on the internet because there's no real world anymore. But
Right.
I'm talking to someone who's been on the show a few times over the years, but it's been a while. I think it's been maybe 3 years since you were last on here.
That's right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and you were on twice as yourself, and then twice with 3P, right? So you've been on like a handful of times over the years.
That's right.
So I think that maybe the best way to start this off is if you want to just introduce yourself, and then we can maybe catch up on what you've been up to over the past few years, because it has been a while since you've been on the show.
For sure. Um, I go by Egg, E.GG. That's elevation for the greater good. 1/3 3P, fourth quarter records. Born and raised Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Currently residing in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Well, the Toronto thing is new, right? Since we last talked.
That's true. Yeah, that's the probably most recent thing.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
what sparked that? Why Toronto? Like, why did you leave the city, leave Winnipeg to go to Ontario?
Yeah, a few things. I mean, one of the main things. Let's see. Hold on. So back when I was b-boying in the breakdancing culture, one of the first places, bigger stages that I've competed, was in Toronto.
Okay.
This was back like 2010, around that time. But I kind of vowed to myself, like, if I ever wanted to try a different destination, I would try to move to out east.
Okay.
So yeah, 2015 was kind of where I thought about it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to make this reality, but I didn't have the stability I think I needed, knowing how expensive it is out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2015 was ideally when I wanted to move. So yeah, I made the move April 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, just I mean, again, a few things prompted that move. I think just the change of scenery was needed. Felt like I was hitting a bit of a ceiling in Winnipeg.
Okay.
That was just like, I mean, in everything. I think everything I was doing, personal life, music, I think I was hitting a bit of a ceiling. It just wasn't. I wasn't feeling like. I almost felt like there was like a halt on being like a creative, and even in life was just
Okay.
like at a. But yeah, and then also my partner, she's when I met her, we were. It's a long story, but when we met, I ended up finding out she was from Toronto. So I mean, like,
Okay.
that was kind of like also a very like important bridge, was because of our relationship. So,
Sure.
but yeah, those are the few things why I moved out east.
Well,
And
before we get into any more of that, it's just
yeah,
interesting that you're the guy who moved out east, because when you were here, I mean, and your music too is so West End specific, right? I mean, it's not even just
yeah,
Winnipeg specific. You're like dialing right deep into the West End. So
absolutely.
you're obviously someone who cares a lot about where you're from and about your community and where you grew up. So what is it like to kind of uproot yourself from all that and basically start fresh somewhere new?
It was, man. It's yeah, it's interesting. I feel obviously the disconnect is there. I really do feel like because I'm not surrounded by it, the West End anymore, just
Yeah.
Winnipeg in general. I feel like, yeah, obviously the disconnect is huge. I'm in like such foreign territory, but yeah, I still like keep in contact with everyone back home. So like I'm obviously living vicariously through everyone back home, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. Like I like you said, it's like I'm so West End. I wear it on my sleeve, like
Yeah.
it's.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah, literally,
Yeah.
literally. But I think if anything, it almost feels like there's a sense of liberation as well. Like I feel like there's like that you know I got to have that West End surrounding, like, help me grow.
Sure.
It helped me, obviously I wouldn't be who I am without um, you know being from there and like knowing the things that I know coming up from Winnipeg. But yeah, like it also just like, yeah, it gave me the push I needed to not be afraid to, like, take a chance.
Sure.
And the thing is too, is just like, yeah, again, like with hitting the ceiling, like I feel like there is only so much I can indulge in and be a part of uh back home, that like, yeah, I think I started getting the sense of like, well, before, or maybe who knows down the line if I come back or not, whatever the case is, but like, how would I know what else is out there if I don't try?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
I gotta give it I gotta give it a shot. And again, all those experiences that the West End taught me, it was like, now apply those survival tactics or instincts and like use that, and apply it to being somewhere else. And honestly, yeah, it's a trip. Like Toronto's obviously incredible. There's just
Yeah.
something that Toronto has that obviously a lot of provinces, cities, countries. Toronto's so multicultural. It's like yeah, I feel there's that as well. It's just the unknown. So I feel like, okay, well, if I want to know, I gotta crack open these doors. And yeah, so it's really cool though. It's very cool, and they're very similar, oddly enough, even though one is small and one is bigger. Like it's I mean, in terms of the city, it's like, yeah, it's great.
Does it give you a different perspective on Winnipeg's music scene? Just because a lot of the time when I'm talking to people, we're also deeply sort of embedded in that community, right? And it's hard to everyone's very positive about how big it is and how tight it is and all this stuff, but it's very easy to forget that there exists anything outside of this little bubble here in
Hmm.
Winnipeg, where not just hip hop, but everything in general, right? Have you sort
Yeah.
of, now that you're outside it for a little while, do you have like a different view on it, or does it still feel the same as it was when you were in it? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I feel like it's still, I feel like nothing changed.
Okay.
I feel like anything, I'm still actively creating with people from Winnipeg, actively competing with people from
Yeah,
Winnipeg.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
A healthy sense of competition. I feel like I'm like actively like tuning into music and anything art wise from Winnipeg,
Okay.
which is cool because there's still like that there's still that sense of like humbling a humbling nature, where I'm just like, my head hasn't gotten bigger since I moved here.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I haven't even really indulged too much in music. I think that's one of the things in the most recent Instagram post that I had. It was stating that being out here, I thought what it would do for me was to give me the boost to like do things at a higher level,
yeah.
uh, higher capacity. But I think instead what it did was it kind of like, yeah, it did that. It humbled me. It kind of just shut me up a bit, and was like, stick to where you're at.
Yeah.
Stay at a steady incline. Stick with what you know. And if even though there's that distance, that doesn't mean that you have to completely unplug from home.
Sure.
So yeah, but it's interesting to watch because I think as soon as I took off, I saw like an insane wave of a bunch of other artists who I felt I was like, you guys got it next. Like, you guys need to go. You guys need to start releasing a shit ton of music,
Yeah,
and really like show what you have to offer to such a rich music scene, right? And
yeah,
Winnipeg is so beautiful in that sense too, because all genres. I think, I mean, I never really saw before going to like hip hop shows before Three-Peat. But I think when Three-Peat hit, it was like we were doing the, like, again, right? The story was like we did punk shows. We were doing
yep.
these crossover like hardcore band shows and like whatever, really anything that we can get our hands on. We were playing those shows, so it was cool because I think then it not only opened my eyes to seeing other genres of and artists in Winnipeg, but like it, I think allowed like, yeah, it allowed other genres to also enter hip hop,
Totally.
right? So but yeah, I think
I think that's why Three Pete was so successful too, right? Is because it wasn't, you weren't just in the rap scene. You were, people who were into like indie rock knew you, or into punk rock knew
yeah,
you, and everything, right? So that obviously helped. I think immensely in terms of getting you guys just in terms of Winnipeg famous, I guess, if you want to call it that, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and exactly that. I think that's why, like, being over here again, I'm still and if this makes sense, like Errol here is still competing with Errol over there. Like I still feel
Okay.
like there's ghost of me back home. So it's like, but yeah, it's like it's my way of still like diving into seeing what's happening back home, and honestly, that's been inspiring me more than what I've seen or heard musically out here,
Okay.
because of how music is in Toronto. It's like on this scale of like, grandiose. So like there's yeah, it's kind of, that's where I'm just like, I'm not trying to think of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But also not that I'm not trying to think of that stuff. So
Well, I guess this kind of also leads into we just mentioned you've played shows with punk bands and indie rock bands and hardcore bands, whatever. You have new music coming out that is kind of born of that sort of collaborative spirit, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so again, this year I took more time into just kind of like taking care of myself, taking care of like just life. Um, because again, it was frustrating. I was trying to force a lot of like music.
Yeah.
And at the time, like just a little backstory, but like I was writing, there's still so much things I've written and things that I've been trying to put together, and they're great. They're great bodies of work. But I stopped and I was like reading some of the stuff I wrote, and it was frustrating because I read it, I would read it and back to myself, and I was like, what the fuck am I really? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't even hitting the person who was writing it. So I mean, not even a sense of writer's block, but I just didn't even like, I wasn't even attached to the music. I wasn't even attached to what I was writing. Like
Yeah.
it had no it had no home. It had no sense of like yeah, of home. Uh,
Well, that
so
would probably, if you were recording that stuff too, that would shine through, right? People would probably feel
yeah,
that there wasn't that genuine connection to what you're talking about.
yeah, exactly. And even when there would be, features I'd be a part of, or like things where three-peat, or if any of us were trying to like kind of step outside the box and try other things, even then I was like Lost in the Holdup was like out of my element. That was on Alverstone. Like Lost in the Holdup was like a ballad record for like my mom, which
Yeah.
I was more singing in it. But I felt like that was out of my element. And it was the first time I was really trying to like experiment, which but still felt very like because obviously it was like it meant so much to me. It was a
Sure.
very like
Yeah.
meaningful piece of writing. So I was like, okay, I gotta put this out, and it worked. But yeah, so anyway, it got really it got really frustrating to the point where I stopped recording. But then I spoke with Matt Schellenberg and Matt Peters from Royal Canoe, and I started kind of getting on this a bit of like an R&B tear. I was listening to a lot of R&B, and I was listening to a lot of like actually like a lot of indie stuff. Um, and I asked them for some production. I was like, hey, you guys have anything like laying around, or if you guys have any ideas, because I kind of want to put something together.
Yeah.
I just need I don't need it to be a hip hop record. I don't need it to be a rap record. I don't, even if I add elements of rap, like, or writing rap lyrics on it, but like I just don't. I need the beat to be something that's like, again, makes me feel like I'm a little bit out of my element.
Sure.
So yeah, we put together this record where the writing felt good, everything felt good about it. And I went as far as to, asking them like, hey, what would you guys think about featuring Nerio on this record? And
Yeah.
He's so renowned, I think, not just in the city of Winnipeg. I think I think whoever knows him from coast to coast, they know how special he is.
Yeah.
And when he jumped on board, it was kind of game over. We were like, okay, this is the most Winnipeg record you could probably get. And I think from guys, again, who you haven't heard of for, I guess, the last year, and a year is a long time.
It is.
I mean, like, and as short as it seems, especially this year,
Well,
I
this
mean,
year's
like,
fucked up. Yeah.
this year's felt the longest, but I'm like, man, it's also the shortest. Yeah, just so
Yeah.
fun. But
Well,
I'm
just
sure
to
we'll get
maybe rewind a bit and give some context here, like you guys as three-peat worked with Royal Canoe
yes,
quite
yeah,
a bit back in the day, right? So how did that even come about in the first place?
yeah. So yeah, this is a great backstory. I mean, from my side of my side of it anyway. I remember when we played the Rainbow Trout Music Festival. I think that was the year Begonia was headlining.
Okay.
Me and Anthony were there watching the Begonia set, and we were blown away. We're like, wow, this is insane. Which then, we stayed in contact with Alexa and Stu, and we were talking to Stu a lot about, hopefully down the line we can collaborate.
Yeah.
and then I think it was, I don't know if it was like I was playing another show. I don't know if it was Festival or if it was another gig, but I remember um, our cross paths, or maybe it was the Western Cultural Center. I don't know what show it was, but then no, it wasn't Western Cultural Center. But anyway, I remember we all had spoken um, about about getting on a song together, or I think what was just supposed to be maybe a single,
Okay.
then turned into the RC3PO
Yeah.
EP, which was really dope.
Well, and that
Which was,
just came
yeah,
out, right? Didn't they just release
just
some of
came
that
out.
stuff?
Yeah. Funny enough, I just got my vinyl, which is
Yeah.
right. Shout out to Stu for sending that over to me as well. Yeah. So we just recently dropped that. I think that was last year. Yeah. Last year. Yeah. I think so.
Something like that.
19, I think. Wait, hold on. I gotta check.
All right.
I might as well actually show it to you.
Yeah, sure.
One side has the Royal Canoe record live, and then one has which is dope, and then we have the RCPO record
Cool.
on the back end, which is really dope. I think this was 2019, 2018, 2019. I think one of those. But yeah, so we're very recent.
Yeah.
But and then once we got on the once we did the RC3PO record, I mean, before the artwork came out, we were like, who we should get to do it is Nerio. So again, a very Winnipeg focused like body of work, where like down to the artwork, it was it was a very awesome way to like collaborate with guys that I think like the guys in Royal Canoe, like they're very meticulous how they work as well, especially the mats are like kind of the two that, which I understand why they're doing their collaboration and their joint projects.
Yeah.
But like they're definitely the guys that I feel like kind of help create that out of the box feel for like other artists if they're working with like guys like me, guys like Nerio, guys like any pop artist. I feel like they'll be that type of bridge to like help you kind of explore different avenues, which is awesome.
So that eventually led to this now. So that RC3PO, yeah.
Yeah, and we spoke about the them sending me over some production, which man, it was crazy. I remember opening up the email and they I think sent me over a few beats, and for the record that we're releasing on December 11th, it was the one that I felt like, all right, this this is like the feeling is there. I think on that Instagram post I talk about how creating music has always been an organic thing for me. Like I always felt like if the vibe isn't present, then don't try to approach it, which was the start of the year. I kept forcing it, and again, like it became super frustrating.
It doesn't work, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. Then you start to like, it honestly got to, I started getting discouraged, and like, that sense of me, like, it was just like, I won't say like I gave up or quit, but I got to the point where I was feeling that very like bit of discouragement. Was like, I just have to stop. Just put it down. Just put it down. Gather yourself, refocus, work on other things, come back to it. And this was the first thing that I came back to that felt good. I'll be honest, even after the fact, I tried doing more stuff and it still didn't work, which is super odd. I don't know. I haven't like really experienced this and I'm still trying to figure it out. But even after doing this one-off single, I'm like, man, I'm still trying to do other things and like it's not working. So I have no idea what the fuck.
Do you think the move has something to do with it? Like, do you think being outside of that place where you're so creative and so inspired?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, and I feel like I don't want to give it the win.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to say that moving it it has like the most reason as to why this is happening. But I also feel like it's hard. I think I'm obviously a human being with feelings.
Yeah.
Like I miss home. I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss everything about Winnipeg and being in Winnipeg. I miss the food. I miss I miss going out.
Yeah. Everyone misses going out right now. Yeah.
But it's yeah, I think because I'm not plugged into that bubble of creativity like physically,
Yeah,
I think could be like why. But I've always been very introvert when I think I've like writing music and recording music. It's never a crowd of people in a studio. It's usually me, maybe Steve, maybe Anthony,
yeah,
engineer, maybe Bill, just because you know we're all maybe also working on three-peat stuff. But to my, you know, my ideas affect more effectively when I'm by myself. But this time around, yeah, it's tough. I feel like again because I took most of the year to kind of work on like life and myself.
yeah,
It didn't translate to music, which I again thought it would. I thought the change of scenery would like help me, you know, push me creatively and push me, um, you know, to like do more. I thought like
right.
coming out here was gonna help me do more, and yeah, it's crazy. Like that the complete opposite happened.
Well, it
So
might still happen though, right? It might just be
yeah,
that you need the time to kind of fully integrate with your surroundings. I don't know if you feel
yeah,
like you have yet or not, but like,
no, for sure. And I'm not saying that it like I feel like you know I feel like stupid to think that way. It was just more so like I'm realizing how that yeah like the opposite happens. So I need to just chill. I need to
yeah,
just keep going with what I'm doing and like life wise and I think the music is always it's always going to come to me even when I get excited about things like this when releasing little like singles or little
yeah,
projects or featuring on anyone else's records. Like I get excited, which that's a bit of that like you know that drive where I'm like, oh, maybe I should just, you know, screw it, I'll take a month off and record a whole, you know, whatever, take a few months off, record a whole album and put it out next year just to
yeah.
show I'm doing this or making moves. It's like,
You're still here. You're still alive. Yeah,
yeah, man. And like, I think that was the most important thing. Like everyone else, you know, the mental health aspect we're all battling is massive.
yep,
It's, and again, like when I moved last year, it was like, you know, I was almost in the same thing. Like I was like, man, I don't have anyone. My partner, thank God,
yeah,
and she's been incredible through the whole process of me moving and like being over here and it's definitely helped us grow, which again was something that I had to felt that was important to me to nurture that
sure, yeah,
aspect of
yeah,
life, which was yeah, which again is incredible. But I felt yeah, like I felt like the sense of like being alone, um, you know, that didn't activate or it didn't help activate any like ambition or drive to like go and push to record any music or anything like that. Even though I was meeting up with producers, I was meeting up
yeah.
with people trying to see if there was anything that we could work out, and yeah, it didn't work. So not to say that it won't, but yeah, in the future. But I feel like yeah, I think I'm still settling into the idea that I'm kind of rebuilding or building a life away from Winnipeg, which yeah, it's beautiful in many ways, but also yeah, very like sad because you know it's not home. But
Sure, definitely, definitely.
I gotta turn it into home. So
Yeah, eventually it becomes home, right? It just takes
yeah,
you got to take the time. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So this single, it'll be out by the time this airs as a podcast, right? So
Hmm.
what's the name of it first of all?
The name of it is Good Fortune.
Okay,
Yeah,
and where can people find it once it's out?
it'll be on all streaming platforms. Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music. I'm sure SoundCloud. I'm sure yeah, everything.
All the things people get their music from. Yeah,
All the
yeah,
things will get there. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And then so I guess like I'm sure people are excited to hear that, especially since they haven't heard from you in a while, right? But what is kind of the future now as far as 3P goes? Because you know those guys are all still active. You're doing this. Like everyone seems to be still making music. Is there plans for 3P to exist with you in Toronto?
Yes, because we made it work prior to pre-COVID, right?
Right,
So
right.
we still played festival together. Uh, I think it was only Steve that wasn't there when I did the Begonia show. Dill
Okay.
came out. He played a record with me. Um, it's still there. I think what people don't know and like a backstory to like Three Pete was I think even before we did Three Pete 2, it was based off the first record, you know, and then me doing kind of the solo stuff. I mean, we were all doing solo stuff.
Yours had come out already, though. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I felt like one thing I spoke to when we'd have like, you know, these team meetings, um, you know, I would always talk about like, we just got to keep pushing content, whether it's together or if it's us as individuals. But I feel like, I felt like this isn't like I told a lot of people this, like in my close circle. I was like, it's not a boy band. We're not a boy band. Like, we don't, it's not like make or break. We stay together or we have to break. We got to break up. Like
Yeah,
that's not in the contract. That's not a deal. Like,
yeah,
you guys are my friends first and foremost. You guys are my brothers. Like, I appreciate and value that more than I would any type of music that we'd make together. So the bond is obviously most important. But I felt like, you know, why sell ourselves short with just making group stuff and, you know, explore other avenues. We
yeah.
should be doing things individually. We should be pushing our own projects, whatever the case is. And I mean, I was just more adamant on doing that for, obviously for me. I was like, you know what, this has been something I wanted to do since high school when I was rapping in Kelvin High School cafeteria. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
man, man, I wanted to learn how to put an album together and put it out. I didn't know how. Anthony helped me. The guys helped me. They were all part of it. Um, but now look at it, you know, it's incredible. You got Dill coming out with projects. You got Steve producing for
everybody.
probably
Yeah,
the majority of the city, which
yeah,
is, you know, that like that's something that he wanted to do, and he was doing it. And I think the again when 3P2 hit, I think, and I mean, you can talk to Anthony and the other guys too, and they'll tell you like we all didn't feel right about it, and it was kind of tricky. It was tricky because we just felt that there was dead air. 3Pete wasn't around after the first record, so it was like, hey, we should put something out to let people know that we're still around.
right, right.
But it was kind of, you know, it was a misjudgment on, you know, timing and you know, the rollout and just how we all felt. And I think
Yeah,
that was the more important thing, was like, how do we all feel? Because again, we shouldn't be forcing things that don't fit. And I'm not saying 3P doesn't fit, but like, hey, come on, life is gonna hit us all. We're like, man, can we all be in the studio at the same time?
yeah,
No. Can we
yeah.
all record separately and send each other stuff? Yeah, but we're probably not that punctual in sending each other stuff. It was hard. Like, it was almost impossible to get either someone to be somewhere or like someone had to do this. You know, emails. No one was really good at
Yeah.
tossing emails to each other.
Well, that's really interesting because, like, as a listener, right? I mean, when the first one came out, everyone was just like, "Oh shit, who is this? This is amazing!" And
Yeah,
everyone was really hyped up about it. And then the second one came out, I was like, "Oh, cool, a new 3P record," but it wasn't the same level of just like, "Oh my
yeah,
god, this is unreal. What is this?" And I think that that's maybe what happened. It's still a good album for sure, but it didn't have
absolutely.
the same kind of just like. I think it's because you guys were new too, and like a lot of people hadn't heard you yet until that record came out, the first one, and it was just like people were like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" And then the second one was like, "Oh yeah, these guys, they're good." You know, you already know
Yeah,
they already know they're good though. So
yeah,
it's kind of like diminishing returns because everyone already knows where the level you guys were at, and
yeah,
then it's just
exactly.
like, oh, you're still at that level rather than being at a higher. I don't mean to shit on the record because it's a good record, but
No, for sure. No, for sure. But see, like again, even to the audience, I think they felt the same way. I felt that it was just like it just showed up.
yeah, yeah,
That's
it did,
like
yeah, yeah,
that's the tough part about again releasing records in this era where, yeah, the attention span thing. Like I hear it left and right. Oh, attention span. People don't have the attention span for this and that.
they
You know.
don't.
Yeah, and you know, I was getting, you know, my ear talked off about, yo, why do you keep dropping projects annually? Why don't you just drop a single, push that, maybe let that get traction and then do this? I'm like, why do you guys have to tell me how to build a format, how I want to release music? And I've said it multiple times, multiple different interviews. I would do this for free.
Yeah, yeah,
I would
yeah,
do this for free. I would put out music for free. I've put out music before on SoundCloud that was just one-offs, never promoted it. I just put it there. And I was like, man, this isn't, to some, this is a obviously the business game, and I get the business angle of music and the industry, which is great.
yeah,
I'm not ever throwing shade on that, because if anything, Anthony taught me that, Stu taught me that, a lot of people taught me and gave me a lot of great value and knowledge on how to have that angle in business. But again, it's like yeah, with 3P, it turned into, it was also turning into and again, this is just from how I saw it. It was turning more into like, you know, I felt like I was losing the brotherhood aspect. I felt like I was losing just like the friendship aspect. It was like, oh,
right.
now all we're doing is talking about what to put out, the next steps, and so I was torn between both. Um, not to say that it was like it tarnished our relationship. It was just like, man, I don't know what to do. Do we talk? Do we keep doing the music stuff, or like are we hanging out? Or
Yeah.
so yeah, I think a lot of us just got lost in it all. Where then when that project showed up, it was like, oh, you know, that those some of those songs were already done for like a couple years.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like
Well, I
sitting
think I had you guys on the show, and you had some of it already done. We put some of those songs in the episode, and then
yeah,
the album didn't come out for like a year after that or something. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So and that's where, yeah, again, right? Like you can't like yeah, change happens, and it happens like that.
Yep.
It's just so frequent. And again, I think the funny thing is our relationship, all of us today, our relationships are better than it was before, and we haven't put anything out. And I think that's again very important. Like I remember the day the night before I was leaving, they were some of the last guys I saw.
Yeah.
And you know, like I have friends for, you know, 10 plus years, 15 plus years that they should have been the last people I saw. Almost, like, I mean, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, like there's some of my closest friends that I felt like I should have like made contact with physically before taking off. But it was Dylan, Steve, and it was like you know, it was kind of one of those things where I'm like, man, they're such a huge part of my life that so, you know.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a I wouldn't keep us out of the loop though. Like there's still so many opportunities to do cool three-peat stuff. Because we haven't been around. There hasn't been any, right? It gives it more reason to then have a better rollout, and then people get excited for it.
Yeah.
When will that happen? When does that conversation start? Who knows? But again, I think like what's great about not releasing music for a while is because people get excited and they ask questions.
Yeah, definitely. So your other releases, I mean, like the three-peat stuff is out there, and you have, how many solo releases do you have now? 3?
4.
Like 4. Okay. So where can people find that? I mean, if people still want to go back and check out some of those records, where do they find them?
You can go on to same thing, Spotify, Apple Music. I think Tidal has a few.
Okay.
SoundCloud will have them all. I think YouTube as well. You can go on YouTube.
Okay. So they're out there, right?
They're out there. Bandcamp as well. But yeah, those are the 4, plus a few of the singles that I released again from last year.
Yeah.
Got the features from you name it, Charlie Feta, Begonia, the Royal Canoe features, and then we got this most recent one coming out again December 11th.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad to hear that, you know, even in Toronto, you're still connected with Winnipeg. It seems like in a really big way, because I think that's like I said earlier, you know, I think in the city here, we have such a tight knit view of what the music scene is. And it seems almost like if someone leaves, it's like, not that they get shunned, but there's this like, oh, he just tried to leave so he can make it. You know what I mean? And it definitely doesn't seem like that at all with you, which is good. It seems like, you know, you had legit reasons to move on to Toronto, and you're still in touch with everything that's happening here, and you're still like, it hasn't turned you into some rock star or whatever, right? You're still making the same music, you're still the same guy, which is cool.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's like, that's the funny part. Again, why I like moving here, I thought it would not the rock star part, but you know, kind of make me feel arrogant a little bit, to like, not to say that that's what I wanted. It's just like I felt like, oh, if I moved to Toronto, like those are the questions I asked myself. I'm like, if I start making music with so and so, or like start like kind of getting into these you know, like doors that I know talent and skill wise that I'm sure people can appreciate, but like, is that something for me on my end, knowing like, you know, will this kind of like you know, make me feel like almost like slighted, and think like, oh, you know, I knew I should have been out here, I knew I should have done this. Like, I just like, man, I can't. Yeah, that's not. Like, it's just not me. I'm too chill to care about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
To be also, just like my foundation and the reality of my life is like, honestly, with this, again, with all things considered, we were just talking over text. All things considered, like, life for me is not bad. Like, you know, I mean, again, like, also with the things considered, like Toronto is expensive. You know, but a lot of opportunities. So there's like a lot of balance. There's a lot of give and take. But like, life's not bad. I like, so then that's why I feel like also too, like, a lot of my music was like built or written off of like kind of like struggle and pain
Yeah.
and a lot of different emotions that were very real to me then and are still very real to me now. But I think being out here and seeing how much I fought to like kind of give myself a more comfortable life and like a life where I'm like, man, like I almost feel like the stresses of, you know, anything, debt,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, like, yeah, like, yeah, family stuff or anything. Like, I felt like, to get away from that, like, again, being alone, uh, I kind of am able to like, know myself better in that way and like be with myself more, which again, mentally, like it was so much healthier than, you know, having the late nights out, you know, going to work from 10 to 9 and then playing shows from 11 till 2. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I sleep at 11 now and then I wake up by 6 or 7. Like, you know what I mean? I start doing music by like 10 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that to me is, you see the full spectrum of things and I'm like, man, I recommend and highly enjoy making music at 10 a.m. than making in the morning. But I still get calls from Steve at like 3 in the morning and they'll be like, dude, you got to listen to this beat. And I'm like, wow, this beat's awesome. But like my eyes, I'm like half asleep. I'm like, man, I wish I was like more awake to like fully take this in. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome because yeah, I feel more connected to home than ever. But I think it's obviously, yeah, because when you miss something, you try to reach for it again. You try to find ways to like plug back in. And I don't do it so much on social media. Like I don't, like it's not like if the music thing, yes, like for the music aspect, I'm always like, I think people wonder why I don't follow anyone on Instagram. It's just so I don't like, you know, I don't have a feed to look at because I don't want to
Right.
I feel like I'll get too zoned in on that and like either inspired or influenced that I'm like, too much of it is bad for you. But yeah, like I think like when, you know, I still like will look up on certain people's Instagrams to see what they're doing. And if it's guys like, you know, like the fourth quarter camp, like any of those guys, you name it,
Yeah.
I'm watching out for what they do and what they make, because again, it's like it helps me, you know, it helps me know that there's like still a lot of work that's being put out. And it kind of keeps me on my toes about like, hey man, like these guys are doing some incredible work. Like, you know, what's next for you? And that's the real question for me. It's like I ask myself like, what's next, man? What do you want to do? And honestly, none of none of the answers are music related. So it's yeah, it's nice to like just at least like get one in there before the year's over.
Right on.